It's crazy. I hope nobody got hurt.
It started as thick, black smoke, followed by an alarm.
Somebody banged on the door and said it's for real this time, and by then you could smell the smoke in there.
And all of a sudden it burst into flames.
Next, a mad dash to get out and a rush to get here as the fire whipped through the attic of Plymouth Oaks.
This is a non-sprinkled building, so the fire, once it penetrated the attic space, it was a lumberyard.
30 apartments were destroyed in an hour and a half.
Everything I own is gone.
Word spread as fast as this fire. A lot of residents rushed home in a panic.
I noticed the smoke from 169.
They were in a red light and rode on the shoulder.
So I came around here and parked and just ran so hard.
There were pets inside, and this fire showed no signs of letting up.
I'm scared for my dog.
There were a lot of reunions, like the one between Dana Schock and Nemo.
I cried. Just happy he's okay. He wouldn't go to the fireman.
The roof was gone about an hour into this fire. That's when someone noticed.
I saw a cat stuck to the screen.
A cat that survived. A cat that was hanging on.
I started crying, actually. It was terrified. It was trying to get out. They were spraying water all over it.
There's just so much smoke and fire. The roof caved in.
Raina is John Tickle's cat, and all he could do is watch and wait. Reluctantly, the cat was corralled.
A little scared.
Minutes later, another one of Tickle's cats poked her head out the window, and she too was rescued.
It's all right. You're a little wet. You okay?
These were small victories for a crowd of people captivated and consumed by this fire at Plymouth Oaks.
Snow and blowing snow causing whiteout conditions. Total snowfall 15 to 22 inches.
When Duluth sends out its next batch of tourist brochures, rest assured these pictures won't be attached.
The wind right now is coming right off the lake, and it is strong.
Sustained winds at the lift bridge, 46 miles an hour, gusting to near 60.
It's pretty cold.
Mark Niebuhr made it to work, but headed back home shortly after he got there.
All the school systems are closed and everybody pretty much is shut down.
At Duluth International Airport, no passengers in sight. Northwest Airlines canceled all 8 of its flights. FedEx plane the only arrival all morning. The ground crews are keeping runways open for National Guard emergencies.
What are you doing out? I'm just cruising, just checking it out. Wanted to come down and see what was going on.
Next time he decides to play Will Steger, Kevin Rivers might want to choose a ride with 2 working headlights and more than 8 inches of ground clearance. Duluth is something to see today.
I'm still hung up.
Just no day to be a sightseer.
It's hard. I can't go home. There's no home.
Bonnie Oldham's home sits slumped in a muddy field, 2.5 blocks away from its foundation.
The basement blew out because of the water coming through so fast.
15 feet of water rising so fast, Bonnie, her husband, and her elderly mother climbed onto their roof.
And all of a sudden the house shifted.
Then the house broke loose and floated away.
Mom kept saying, we're gonna die. I'll go home by Dad now. And I said, no. I said, we're not gonna die. I says, we're gonna be all right. And the ride was like being in a boat, smooth, but you were going so fast and everything in its path. Big trees. If you go down here, you can see the big trees that we took out.
Bonnie remembers seeing neighbors as she passed by.
There was people on their tops of their house hollering, oh my God, and all I could say is call for help for us.
Help finally arrived by airboat at 5:30 this morning, 5.5 hours after Bonnie and her family first crawled onto their roof.
My husband had his hands on the black pipe. I had my mom laying flat with my arms around her and Roger next to me, and we cuddled up in the blankets. Even though they were soaked, it kept our body heat.
Railroad tracks and storm debris stopped their house from floating further. Bonnie's certain someone was watching over her.
You know what? I'm lucky. We're lucky we're here. We could have got killed. We're here.
At the crossroads of Interstate 90 and Rush Creek sits a testament to the power of water.
It probably just washed down the creek.
A brand new car that started its journey 5 miles upstream.
10-4, thank you.
After some checking, emergency crews are thrilled to learn the car's owner did not make the trip too.
So we've contacted the registered owner and she's okay.
They are the same powerful floodwaters that derailed everything around this railroad track. The same floodwaters that tore through the land beneath County Road 17 near Watoka, forcing the pavement to give way.
I'm lucky to be alive today.
Diane Mendez was driving down the pitch-black road just before 6 a.m.
I thought it was just mud going across the road until I got there, and then it's like, wait a minute, there's nothing in front of me.
She stopped a few feet short of the crater and saw 2 vehicles inside, one driven by a newspaper delivery man who escaped, and one occupied by 2 people who died at the scene. This morning, Diane returned to see the hole under daylight.
But I have guardian angels on my shoulders, I'll tell you.
If so, those angels were busy.
I guess the worst disaster we've ever had in this area, as far as I'm concerned.
Fireman Bill Kohlmeyer is one of the few people allowed on this stretch of Highway 26 in Brownsville.
As you can see, it just swept the house right away.
Nearly a foot of rain triggered mudslides that leveled at least 5 homes in this small town. 3 people were inside this house at the time. 5 were in this one, including kids. Yet no one was seriously hurt.
Basically, I mean, it's a miracle that they all lived through it.
By afternoon, the threat of more rain forces the town to evacuate about 45 more homes. Just as farmers in neighboring La Crescent try evacuating several cows from flooded fields.
It's dirty, it's gross.
After several minutes, they successfully steer the group to safer pastures, proving on this day the only thing more stubborn than the cows is the water.
Come on, come on!
They've been gone a very long time.
The anxious family is a staple of any military homecoming.
I can't wait.
Sergeant John Creasel is playing that role today.
Very, very excited right now. Almost sick.
Because to him, the plane of soldiers landing at Volk Field, Wisconsin,
now I see some faces,
is packed with brothers.
Good to see you, man.
Dozens and dozens of brothers.
Rob, dude. Peace.
These are the soldiers Sergeant Creasel served with in Iraq before losing his legs to a roadside bomb in December.
You look good. No, I don't. You got legs, bro.
It would have taken every branch of the military to keep him from greeting his soldiers.
Nelly, dude.
Hey, brother.
Dude. And his best friend from greeting him.
Good to see you, dude. Good to see you too, man.
Staff Sergeant Tim Nelson was in the Humvee December 2nd, sitting behind Creasel when their tire triggered a 200-pound explosive.
I heard you yelling, man, and I wasn't going to let go if you were telling me not to.
A helicopter took Creasel to a hospital in northern Iraq, and Nelson was there too.
I got to go sit by him for about 3 or 4 hours and just kind of hold his hand. And they were still unsure if he was going to make it.
It was the last time any of them saw Sergeant Creasel until this moment.
Good to see you, dude.
Yeah, nice to see you, man.
Good to see you.
Creasel even got to see the soldiers who rushed to his aid right before the explosion.
He's like, hey, I need tourniquets, I need tourniquets. I'm like, John, they're already on, they're already on. He's like, okay.
To Sergeant Creasel, this family reunion is filled with more than brothers.
You saved my ass. I would be dead without you.
It's filled with heroes.
I wouldn't be here without them.
Spend 5 minutes at this private airstrip outside of Hancock, and owners Mary Jo Brown and her husband Marvin
I'm catching on. Takes me a while, but I'm catching on.
will make you laugh. But 5 minutes after you arrive, you'll meet the couple that actually runs this place.
This is Apollo.
Apollo and her husband, Kennedy.
So I suppose it's kind of crazy, but we sure do enjoy it. We've had a lot of fun with them.
And this is where the fun and craziness begins. Apollo and Kennedy have been flying next to this old Lincoln town car for a year now, up and down the grass landing strip.
How do you explain them flying? Well, they got to get their exercise somehow, you know.
They've bonded. They've just bonded with us.
But sometimes the geese get a bit tired and cranky.
They're my naughty kids. You understand naughty kids? Yes.
Keeping up with a luxury sedan at 40 miles per hour can be a bit of work.
In the summertime, they fly a real lot. But now they're getting fat and lazy, you know, just like the rest of us.
Get going.
But after a bit of prodding, these pets will take off, catching up with the car and taking your breath away. There is no other way to get this close to a flying Canadian.
I was out mowing lawn.
It started with Kennedy in Marvin's old Honda.
I bet he went followed me an hour and a half, round for round. You wouldn't think you think he'd get tired of that, but he didn't quit.
Then he followed a golf cart, and soon he met his mate, and both were flying next to the old Lincoln.
See, I think they're better than kids. They behave better, I think.
And they're treated like royalty.
She gets more attention than I do, the goose.
She's much more romantic.
You've got to admit,
see, now you got it.
Both couples are pretty entertaining.
Goose, goose.
Scott Soroka, KARE 11 News.
Pretty goose. Oh, pretty goose. Goose games, goose games, goose games.
This is Spike. What do you want?
Queen Bee.
This is Master Blaster. Cross a telethon. Use it with a stock market trading floor.
Nine is closed.
And what exactly do you get?
Wrong. Completely wrong.
Totally wrong.
If you're in St. Cloud and it's February,
That's wrong too.
all you get is more questions.
About how many Cheetos constitute a serving?
Name the airlines and the aquarium.
Give us the 2 pool balls seen rolling across the screen.
What started at the campus radio station 3 decades ago as a winter diversion for dorm-bound students has morphed into a monster.
It's our pleasure to welcome you to our 28th annual Trivia Weekend. I've called trivia the beast because it's a beast. It's got a life unto itself. Pigpen.
A beast no longer happy just living on the St. Cloud State campus.
Okay, we got number 1. It was Psycho.
Trivia has taken over the town.
See if somebody can find a phone number for Jabberwocky Graphics in Irving, Texas.
Who's the guest star?
That's Deb Duffy.
Is it Paco de Lucia?
This is half her basement.
Coburn's doesn't have the brand.
It's a rush. It's an event.
Care to see the other half?
Question number 7 is now open.
Starting to get the idea?
We got it!
60 players, 24 computers, and hundreds of reference books.
They're not light.
At Deb's house alone.
Oh, ow.
2 round-the-clock cooks. Enough newspaper clippings to line an elephant cage.
All the cartoons.
And this is just one team.
Did anyone do it up there?
There are 79 more.
Do it.
Like these caffeine-loading students from St. John's Prep.
4 things at Jersey Mark, guys. Come on.
Texas Troubadour.
These mixed-agers
Thank you.
who take over a downtown theater.
Before we die, we are going to win this trivia contest.
And this group of friends that, unlike some teams, permits drinking.
We only allow 1 beer an hour.
Big concession. St. Cloud's trivia contest goes 50 straight hours.
Give us the month, day, and year the Stearns County Jail went smoke-free. For this question, do not call the county jail or 911.
9 questions an hour broadcast on the radio.
Coming up to camera 2.
And on campus TV.
What is the name of television character Zach Mango's pet fish?
Hello, Trivia Weekend. I'm not wearing any pants.
150 volunteers taking calls and an in-studio band.
Now it's Saturday, it's getting late. 200 questions and we only answered 8.
On Trivia Weekend, that couch in the lobby is prime real estate indeed.
Really, who cares what the answer is to me? I don't know. But they do.
Dan and Jan Gallagher are trivia refugees in a hotel for the weekend so their son's friends could set up a trivia war room.
These states supplied us with the most secretaries of agriculture.
She's forwarding me to somebody who may know. I'm just surprised that I got through.
Tom Lance gave up his house too, but then joined in himself.
Deodorant stick.
And why?
If you're number 1, you know, everybody knows about the trivia contest in St. Cloud in February. Everybody knows.
It's not for the prize money. There is none. Just a cracked traveling trophy for the winner, a few gift certificates, and a box full of T-shirts.
So you're lucky if you're on the team. If you have 60 people on your team, they may come out of it with a coupon to go get some tacos.
We have now passed the 25th hour.
I woke up at 6:30 Friday morning.
Deb Duffy has not slept for a day and a half.
They tell me it's Saturday.
We need to know Hart's favorite comic strip.
The stress level is rising as her basement-dwelling team that won the contest last year struggles to break out of 3rd place.
She said nobody's getting this one. It's not what you win, it's that you win.
Question number 1, the big one for the hour, is open.
Their only chance to catch up?
That's Danger Mouse.
A 500-point question in which teams must name all 28 cartoon theme songs in a music montage.
Jackie Chan, we don't have that one.
Anything's fair game.
anything. It's fair game.
Marie Richardson and Pete Hammerlink are among a handful of question writers who spend all year trying to come up with Google-proof questions.
Here's the list of all the different shows that Snagglepuss appeared on.
Their cartoon theme song question proves
101 Dalmatians.
too tough.
Wrong.
Not one team can name all 28.
It's closed. Damn it, closed.
Oh, well.
By hour 50, emotions are frayed, homes are trashed.
We've got Knockers Pizza, Gary's Pizza.
And the radio station pizza boxes are stacked from floor to ceiling.
Papa John's, we got Domino's Pizza.
3, 2, 1,
Trivia's over.
What a long, strange trip it's been this weekend.
In Trivia Weekend, the land of 10,000 stories has found its own little Mardi Gras. Pure spectacle, just for the fun of it.
In first place, Polestar Diesel.
A competition where champions don't go to Disney World. They go to bed.
Thank you so much, teams. We'll see you next February. Take care.
It's a problem that can play itself out in dramatic fashion, like this scene near the Sculpture Gardens in Minneapolis last year. The man in the foreground, clearly despondent, suicidal. He drops over the edge. Minneapolis police are careful not to escalate this situation. They're trained for a reverse strategy, almost counter-cop. No show of force. They function more like social workers. And as was the case on this day, it often works. But getting here is seldom pretty.
What's going on today?
Just going home.
Okay. Well, we're real worried for you, but you can't do it yourself, ma'am. Well, you're not fine, actually.
100 Minneapolis cops are trained for what they call the Crisis Intervention Team, CIT. We've been out with 7 team members in the last month.
What's your name?
The officer doesn't know what her issue is, and she's not being very helpful.
What do you mean you're fine, ma'am?
She pulls away, walks into the street.
You're not fine, ma'am.
More police are called to help.
She's not answering any of the questions, and she's, where's your ID in here? Just in your purse?
You! No! You get out of here!
It was hard to de-escalate this particular scene. It was naturally out of control quickly.
That's not happening. Hey.
Ma'am, calm down.
She spits on the officers, tries to kick out the doors of the squad. Ultimately, she's taken to the HCMC Crisis Center, where they deal with acute psychiatric cases. Nobody knows at this stage what, if any, psych history she has, but police say she's a danger to herself. Police tell us scenes like this, personal crisis intervention, often involving the mentally ill, can now account for a third of their caseload.
As a police officer, I mean, what's the objective?
To get her help.
Squad 121.
CIT responded to 1,500 calls last year.
We can get you a ride somewhere, do something like that. Do you have any more?
Drink. I'm gonna drink till I die.
You don't want to drink till you die. What's going on that you're depressed about?
They seldom involve bad guys, though that can certainly happen. The common denominator among all CIT calls is the crisis.
Caller's girlfriend cut her wrists, knife is with the collar.
Bill Palmer knows response to these calls has evolved dramatically in recent years.
We get a good number of these. Usually it's cutting the wrists or taking pills.
Today he's among the most experienced officers dealing with the mentally ill. He'll tell you the department was at its worst just 7 years ago, with many calls involving the mentally ill and virtually no training for it. It was a night in June 2000. Bill Palmer himself answered a call to backup police and found a woman coming at him with a knife. He and his partner shot and killed Barbara Schneider.
I knew that she was psychotic in probably the last 20 seconds of her life, when it was too late to do anything about it. By the time that I figured it out, it was way too late. What do you do? I mean, you get to that point where it's going to be someone else. It's going to be you or your partner getting hurt, or the person who's advancing on you with a knife. It's not going to be me.
It was a traumatic experience for everyone that evening. His partner left law enforcement altogether, and Palmer became among the first officers in the state seeking advanced training for dealing with the mentally ill.
I got her name.
These days, he tends to walk away with the patient in tow. Still, nothing's easy here, and while it's great police are better trained for dealing with crisis, Palmer maintains scenes like this could be prevented, but they're not. In fact, they're coming more frequently and with more drama than ever before. Another night, another crisis in downtown Minneapolis. Ryan Olson's been running down the middle of the street, kicking cars as they drive by. He's ultimately tackled by police.
In the dirt yet? Well, let's say we can take care of this, okay? Roll over for me, all right? All right. Are you injured in any way? No. Okay.
As they get him to the car, his words reinforce what police suspected based on his bizarre behavior.
When it's your car, it's your birthday.
Okay.
When it's your birthday,
Joe's bringing my spot
all
over.
your cars.
Ryan, we're gonna have a seat in this car right here, okay?
I'll get in
Come on
this
over.
car.
Okay,
I'll
Ryan,
go
have a
with
seat.
you.
Ryan, have a seat with me.
I'll go on your birthday.
He's sick. He's off his meds, and he's just the latest patient who's become the focus of the MPD.
Where were you at earlier tonight?
This little story goes on and on about how it's my birthday on the Rishi.
Ryan, well, we're gonna go over and you're gonna talk to someone at crisis there, okay? This is about as
when he first ran fine, he said, "Oh my God."
extreme, I guess, a mental break as I've seen.
Trying to get you out of the and it won't hurt my birthday.
Okay.
My head.
See?
Back at the hospital, his parents, who were trying to admit Ryan to the hospital themselves when he broke away and went running down the street, are thankful for the Minneapolis police and their training in dealing with the mentally ill.
But here, he's in a place where he should be, and the police went after him, but they didn't take him to jail. They took him to the hospital where he belongs.
You're thankful for that?
Oh! I can't tell you how thankful I am. This boy is sick. He just needs help. He's very, very sick. I mean, you don't run down the streets in Minneapolis screaming unless you're sick.
I'll take you right here at this hospital. All righty.
I'll be in just a second with us.
Whoa. Dad, I think Mo's living there.
After spending one afternoon with Nicholas Nelson,
There's a gopher hole in there.
there's no question.
Where is it?
He's a high-energy,
Yeah, he's got some grasshoppers here.
critter-chasing, big sister bothering,
You want me to put them on you? Here.
typical
Oh.
9-year-old boy.
No, I just fell.
Yet, in many ways, Nick is wise beyond his years.
He definitely sees the world, not through the eyes of a 9-year-old, more like a 45-year-old.
I can walk still, but it's kind of harder because I can't stand that long.
What forced Nick to grow up so quickly is the syndrome that keeps him from walking like most other kids, a syndrome his family didn't know about until his birth.
Once they got him into the nursery and started giving him his bath, they realized that he couldn't straighten his legs. And when they started looking at it, they realized he was completely webbed behind the back of his legs.
And what was really frustrating is, although we knew there were some issues, there was nobody that was really able to tell us what it was.
Nick's father and doctor poured through medical books for hours before finally finding the diagnosis, popliteal pterygium syndrome.
Basically, it's this pterygium here.
The most common trait is a web on the back of the leg, something you can't just snip off because it's packed with nerves.
If we were to cut it out, it would cause paralysis.
On top of that, the back of Nick's right knee joint is basically gone. Over the years, doctors performed about 15 surgeries and used every tool possible to try and straighten his legs.
And get your pelvis really flat against the floor. There you go.
The left leg is doing better.
There you go.
The right leg is not. As a result, Nick cannot stand up straight and quickly fatigues during physical therapy. He finds it much easier to work out in a pool. Outside of the water, Nick typically uses a wheelchair to get around, but kids at Rosemount Elementary seem to notice his personality far more than his anomaly.
And you tell me how many times you've gone around.
The differences become a bit clearer during the school's mile-long fun run.
Let's smoke them.
While the rest of the kids use their legs, Nick powers his way around the track with an equally exhausting hand trike.
He's very excited about doing this.
For a lap, Nick made plenty of smoke until the chain broke.
This sucks.
A tough break, but Nick would not give up.
Want me to grab your chair so you can finish in your chair?
No.
With help from his grandma, Nick crosses the finish line, broken chain and all.
I didn't really think it was a fun run.
Moments like this make him wish his legs worked, just like everyone else's.
Because I would like to run like my other friends. I'd like to jump off the monkey bars. I want to be as tall as my friends.
Such simple desires push Nick to make a choice.
I'm going to kind of miss my leg.
He wants doctors to amputate his right leg.
I just always wanted it to happen. My dream's going to come true.
Most 9-year-olds dream of Disney World. Nick's dream is something even adults can't imagine.
It's really hard because as a mom, I'm the one sitting there tickling his toes that aren't going to be there anymore.
Sometimes you just have to make hard choices in your life. And that's one of them.
Without amputation, the pain in his legs, hips, and back would get worse, and Nick would eventually be in a wheelchair for good. Now Nick's therapy focuses on getting ready for life without a leg and with a prosthetic.
Man, too many root beers or what?
It's going to be a totally different dynamic after it's gone.
Okay, stand up.
No hands. No hands. No hands.
It's important to work on Nick's balance.
No hands. And we're brutal about it.
Which is why they're forcing him to stand up without using his hands. As the amputation creeps closer, Nick is unafraid, amazing to his fellow third graders.
He seems really brave to me.
But the night before surgery, the reality of what's about to happen sinks in.
It's okay.
Who could blame a 9-year-old for having second thoughts?
So we have to do the surgery. Is it too late, though? Mom, is it too late?
Nick's parents calmly explain putting it off won't make it go away.
You're going to be anxious, and you're going to be nervous, and you're going to be scared, and you're going to wonder if that's the right time, too.
As night falls, Nick's doubts fade away. Sunrise will bring a new beginning. The Nelsons arrive at Gillette Children's at 6:30 in the morning.
And that means we're going to make an incision right along here.
Dr. Mark Dahl goes over the process one last time.
You know, everybody's tried as hard as we can to make this knee joint work, but the knee is too stiff and isn't working for you. So we'll get you a prosthesis, okay?
Nick, already groggy from the anesthesia, seems fine. It's his parents who are getting emotional.
You know, it's a hard decision, but it's the right decision. And I just got to keep reminding myself of that.
Oh, really?
The family says one last goodbye as Nick is taken to the operating room.
It's my baby. It's my baby, and it's my baby's leg. But I know that this is the right thing to do, the best thing for him, and this is going to give him an absolute new lease on life.
Dr. Dahl will amputate the leg at the knee. It's a fairly standard procedure that will only take about 3 hours.
I don't know.
But feels longer to those waiting.
Yeah, it's just a big deal.
Before long, though, Nick emerges.
How's it going? How do you feel right now?
It's hard to believe in just a matter of hours, his leg is gone.
I look at him and think, who are you? Where did you come from with this kind of courage and strength?
I am an ant.
After a life filled with so many adult decisions,
Need to itch your toes?
perhaps now, Nick Nelson
I love you.
can just be a 9-year-old boy.
Now it's time to focus on the exciting new part of his life and moving on and letting him get on with his life.